Hello everybody and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary. Could this weird little three-legged piggy be the best American whiskey in the world? Well, the Singapore Spirits Competition seemed to think so in 2023. Never heard of the Singapore Spirits Competition? Well, you wouldn't be alone. It only started up in 2019 and many of us had something else to worry about at the end of 2019, so maybe it wasn't on the top of our minds. In fact, the only thing I really knew about Singapore prior to this was when I was a kid there was some dude who got caned and then Weird Al made a song about it.
Took a trip to Singapore and brought along his spray paint.
So yeah, I was a little surprised to hear that there's a huge spirits boom and cocktail boom in Singapore. Singapore World Spirits Competition is put on by the Tasting Alliance, who are the same people who do the San Francisco World Tasting Competition, so you've probably heard of that one. And when I heard that this bottle, apparently something completely unknown to me, which is weird in my space, is something that won, best American whiskey in the world, that is something I can't just completely ignore. So I put up $60 plus shipping to get it over to my door. Figured we'd talk about it. Can we just talk about how cool of a title Pitmaster is? Because Pitmaster Carey Brigham, Pitmaster, is the guy who ended up choosing this. And basically that means like he did a single barrel pick, right? And that is totally fine. I don't expect him to also have a distillery on the side of his barbecue restaurant that he opened up in 2013. Now Carey has been involved with barbecue pretty much his entire life, so it makes sense that he ultimately opened a restaurant about it. And it's won a ton of awards for his sauces, his spices. He even has some professional at-home smokers that he sells as well and had a hand in creating. So it made sense in my mind that he would know how to pick a whiskey. So I also kind of would come into this with the expectation of it tasting some way smoky. But it doesn't, and we'll go into that in just a minute. Another thing to note is that a few years ago, Carey lost his leg to bone cancer, and that's what inspired the logo that they have here with the whole three-legged pig thing, which is awesome. The guy's got a great sense of humor. So let's talk about this whiskey and see if it actually lives up to the hype. Now, this is a Tennessee straight whiskey. Now, straight whiskey just means that it needs to be 2 years old and a few other things. But in this case, it says it has to be 2 years old because it's straight. On the bottle, it says at least 4 years old, and my general research says that it might be closer to 8 years old, so somewhere in there. It's 45% ABV, and it has a mash bill that you might recognize if you're really one of those people who nerd out about this stuff. It's 84% corn, 8% rye, and 8% malted barley. Now, bonus points in the comments down below. Before I say it, do you know which distillery that is? Well, let's just say that the mash bill is indicative of where it might be from. If you're not familiar with the Lincoln County process, this is something that most Tennessee whiskeys go through, and basically you're talking about you take your whiskey, before it ages in your barrel, you put it through a bunch of charcoal. You drip it through charcoal, and this essentially removes some of the heavier elements, some of the metals and like sulfury tastes and whatever else. And it basically makes a smoother whiskey. Things like Jack Daniels do this. So this also does this because George Dickel does the Lincoln County process. We also take the finished product after it's been aged in the barrels, and then it goes through some hickory charcoal that is provided from the barbecue place. However, this is not like there aren't drippings from the meat all over the charcoal or whatever. It's clean charcoal. Otherwise, it would be very hard to call this an actual whiskey legally, but it is still an extra step that happens right before it's bottled. Before I actually get into the nose, so this whiskey cost me $60 plus an extra 20 or so to get it shipped, but I don't include the shipping in my justification here because you could potentially find this on the shelf. It's supposed to retail for $40, but you're not going to find it for that. And in fact, that's why I'm mentioning this. If you end up liking this review and this sounds like something that you would like, I'm not sure what to tell you because I bought this on February 11th and it was $60. I looked this morning, and this is like a week later, and it is like $120. It's stupid. So people are starting to realize that this is out here, and they're seeing the reputation that it had, and because of that, the price gouging has started. I don't know if it would be worth it to have you wait to purchase it, or if it might get worse. So unfortunately, it's hard to read these things, but it's just something to know that this is supposed to retail for $40, and I overpaid for that. Okay, so let's go into the nosing. It is super sweet, and that is strange because I'm expecting a little bit to smell at least some amount of smoke. Nothing crazy. It's not going to be like a peated scotch, but I would expect maybe a little bit like there was a Booker's a while back. I want to say it was like 2019-02. That was it was very heavily barbecue flavor kind of indicative of that, but it was delicious and it smelled like barbecue. So I was expecting that. This is not that. This is closer to like sweet tarts. If you can, you know, that like dust that kicks up out of the bottom of the package. It's just like, it's like a cloud of just sugar. And that's what this smells like. There's banana in there, of course, because it's Dickel. There's going to be banana. I would say there's a bit of orange and some chocolate in here as well. Those are fairly muted, definitely not the forefront. The main thing that you're getting off the nose here is actually just an incredible amount of sweetness that does smell very good. It's making me want to drink it quite a bit. Like there's nothing off-putting here, but you're not getting any oak, you're not getting any smoke, and you're not even getting any vanilla. It's mostly just chocolate orange sweetness, and that's about it. Banana. Can't forget the banana. All right, let's have a sip. Cheers. Well, that is very different than the nose. Almost, it's very light on the sweetness here. The smell here made me think I was about to sip just liquid sugar. So when the first thing I tasted was leather, that was very strange. There's also toasted oak for sure. Actually very, very nicely toasted. It's not a deep char. You could tell it's just like a caramelizing, just the surface wood there. Very, very good. As far as flavors go, there's cherry. I said leather already. A little vanilla, which is again kind of coming from that toasted oak. So toasted oak. Orange. Let's see what else. Did I say cherry? I might have said cherry, but cherry. Yeah, it's kind of got a lot. It has a lot of general bourbon flavors here, but they're balanced in a way that's not typical. So think about a Woodford Reserve, for example. When I drink a Woodford Reserve, it is, it's oak, it's vanilla, it's caramel, it might be butterscotch, a couple of other little things, apple. And I look at Woodford Reserve typically as that is a bourbon, When I drink this thing's all over the place. And actually, I'm going to interrupt my own thing here, because on the finish, after talking for a minute, there is the slightest little hint of smoke. Just a tad. And I don't know if I don't want to say that I'm being influenced by what I think should be in here, because I truly think I taste it, but that is something that can happen. So I'm not sure. I would still say it's probably in there. So just the faintest hint of smoke. All right, let's talk overall though. As far as the taste of this goes, there's nothing to dislike. It is absolutely not worthy of being considered the 2023 best American whiskey in the world. And that's not really a slight against this. It's more a sign of how many other really, really good whiskeys there are. I find it very strange that this whiskey of all got picked, and I would love to see what that competition actually looks like. From what I understand is they actually will take kind of the forefront leader, the chosen one of various different categories, and then towards the end they actually pit them all against each other. So you're having things like this go up against a Scotch versus an Irish whiskey, and that's a weird competition in my mind. But I don't know, I mean, that could still be kind of fun. Anyway, as far as I'm concerned, the fact that this thing has tripled in price in a week is absurd. It is absolutely not worth over $100, with not even remotely worth $100. So let's talk about it as a $40 to $50 bourbon, because that's what it's supposed to be. It's fine. It's okay. I give it a 6.5. I don't think there's anything to dislike here. I just don't know that this is one that I would think to myself sitting here and be like, I really want a bourbon. What should I pick? Oh, I should get that pig leg. It's not gonna happen. Just off the top of my head, I could think about what is it? So Russell's Reserve 10, I think it's better than this. I would think the Old Forester, the 1870? That one's probably better than this. Even just the regular Buffalo Trace is close enough. This is definitely a little bit more complex than just the regular Buffalo Trace, but they're close enough. I would probably say this might taste really good if I was eating it with some ribs. I could totally see that. This could taste pretty good if I threw an ice cube in here and just wanted a cold whiskey. I think that would be great. But aside from that, I don't really see the appeal. So yeah, I would probably say if you can get this for MSRP, like 40, 50 bucks, could be worth a try. But aside from that, I would just ignore it. Thank you guys for joining me here on the Whiskey Dictionary, and I hope you have a great rest of your night. Cheers.